Hey watch friends, today we're going to do a revisit of a watch we actually previously reviewed. This is from Trafford Watch Company, and this is their Crossroads. The reason why I wanted to put this video together is they actually are out with a second batch which has 5 new colors. We're going to look at 3 of them here today, but then additionally they talked about in their Kickstarter campaign previously that they would have a bracelet available. That's now available. You can actually see it installed on one of the watches, but we'll check out how they ship as well. So I wanted to give a closer look at each of those, give you a better feel for these colors, as well as explore that bracelet. As far as the color versions, so first I do want to mention these 5 here. So we have the 3 that you see, and then there's additionally a pink and a light blue version as well that are available from the second batch. As of time of publishing, these are actually already available on their website to order. The price is $499. That comes standard with these straps, which will explore all of this. The bracelet is available for separate purchase as well. Currently on sale for $119 for that. The straps are available separately as well for $50, but we'll explore all of this. First, let's go ahead and set these aside here, and we'll check out the bracelet. So this bracelet, this is how it ships. Nice box, consistent with the other Trafford watches. Just basic cardboard construction, but nicely done. Inside, and we'll look at the bracelet installed as well, but inside you can see this is laid out here, kind of that like felt material like we saw on the actual Crossroads itself. You have the contoured end links. They did have to lose the quick release spring bars, unfortunately, for that. So you can see this is just going to be standard spring bars for that, and we'll actually see those right here. So that was a downside, but they wanted to keep that perfect contour, and the lug space just did not allow it. You can see it's a bandolier style bracelet, has a double pusher construction, so fold over double pusher. You can see signature there, brushing, polished accents, all that kind of good stuff. Additionally, inside they do have your traditional spring bars, and then they have a basic spring bar tool as well as a screwdriver included, because these are held in with screws, so to do your link adjustments as well. So that being said, while they do include these, and that's awesome that they do so, I do recommend if you don't already have quality tools, I have a Burgeon spring bar tool linked, as well as a Wera screwdriver. Those are highly recommended. They're relatively inexpensive investments and something I recommend keeping on hand. But that's kind of a look as to how this ships. Now let's actually check out the watches themselves. So as far as the basic specs on these, I do want to mention, while I do already have the full review, I'll have that link down in the video description. It goes through all the detail. We'll check these out, but I first want to give you the basic specs. So they're roughly 6 millimeters across, 38 millimeters up to down. The lug to lug is 46 millimeters. The thickness is stated as 11 millimeters, so not too bad, especially since it has a highly round curve, and that's at the top peak. The movement is a Miyota 9039, excellent movement there, big fan of that. And then they have scratch-resistant coating, so 316L stainless steel, but then they have a hardened coating. That actually carries over to the bracelet as well, which is a huge benefit, so that'll keep these looking new longer, especially with these polished accents they have. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and actually get into other footage and start exploring these watches. First up, we're going to check out this one they call the Texas Peach. This one is, as you can imagine from the namesake, it's kind of a peach coloration. It's fun and it's playful. It takes on kind of like some sherbet colors. It gets a lighter and more delicate peach. With having the sunburst pattern that all of these exhibit, as well as kind of having that embossing down in the middle, it's always fun to see the way that these move around and play with the light. In this particular version, they do have an accent for the rehaut, which you can see is kind of a deeper peach or orangish color for that as well, which I think looks good and adds a little bit more pop. And on an already fun color, I think it takes up that fun quotient a little bit. Additionally, all of these are going to have an accent color, and that's true for the original batch, for the second hand as well. So you can see the text down at the far 6 o'clock position, as well as the second hand is going to be complementary or contrasting and complementary for this. So in this case, it's going to be like a grass green coloration. Then shifting over to the straps. The strap on this is actually a dark green, which is in this case to complement that second hand. One of the things that's really cool though, as we check out the case back is going to be the same carryover, but one of the things that you'll notice here is this actually does have, so first off, quick release spring bars on the strap, so even though they're not on the bracelet, they are on the straps. One of the things that's nice though is they actually added this hidden texture, this hidden pattern and print on the inside. That's, I think, something that's a really fun touch. It's something you have to take off to see and to appreciate fully, but I really like that attention to detail piece, and I think that there's a lot to be said for that. They will be making some updates to these straps on the production version. So right now it tapers from 20 to 18 millimeters. It's going to taper from 20 millimeters down to 16 millimeters. Additionally, for the padding, they're going to keep it relatively thick at the case. However, as it tapers out, it's going to be thinner out towards the tail. So that'll be nice as far as for being a little better contouring and those kind of things. Additionally, they're going to go with a thicker contrast stitching for the straps as well. And then they're actually, while I think it's already a pretty good quality, going to be upgrading the print on the back of these. So those are some things to be mindful of if you are looking to pick one of these up, or if you're looking to add a strap to your existing Crossroads or other watch. All right, so now that we have a feel for the peach one, let's go ahead and check out this next one. This is what they refer to as their Terlingua, I believe is pronunciation there, and that is the red coloration. So this one is accented again, just like the other, where it's going to have a complementary color. And in this case, it is a light blue, which I think really plays nicely with this red. Again, this red, it's going to be a deep saturated red. It's really hard to completely describe. It is close to a traditional red, but it does have a unique shade and unique hue to it. Just like with all of these, as you move them around, they play with the light, especially with that really playful curved crystal, so that's really fun there. As far as the Rehot, this one is, I would say, closer to being a monochromatic look than the peach that we saw, where it had more of a true accent for that. But, again, you have I like the fact that they tailor each of these to the individual watch and really go for their design vision with it, and I really appreciate that. As far as the strap on this particular one, they chose to accent this with a brown strap. It's a nice deep, like chocolatey brown. I personally think that is a better choice than going with that very bold, very in-your-face light blue that they have for the second hand, which I like it on the second hand, but I think it'd be a bit much for me personally with the strap. So that was a good choice. As far as the back, you can see the pattern or the print is going to be very similar for this, but then of course changes up as far as the coloration. And again, this is going to have the same updates that we talked about on the peach. That's going to be across the board for all of these versions on the production. So now that we have a better feel for those, let's go ahead and shift over and we'll check out the third version. So this one is what they call the Limestone, which is consistent with Limestone, is kind of like, it's a gray coloration. However, it sometimes goes on the cooler side where it picks up more of like the blue hues of gray. Sometimes it goes more towards like the tan in khaki coloration of gray as well. So it does have a nice shift in playfulness. All of these are really playful, fun watches. Regardless of whether you go for a more subdued color or a more bold color, I find these to be very fun, very casual watches that can still be dressed up. I think they go just fine in a dressier setting, but I really like that these are just, they're lighthearted, they're fun, they're nice watches all the way around, and I actually have a personal pair of them, like I said, that I'll bring in. But as far as the accents for this one stayed with a blue accent as well, but it's a very different shade of blue than we saw on the Terlingua. This one is a darker blue, kind of like a royal blue for coloration there. The same thing is true for the Rehot. This one is more consistent with the red, which is to say that it's a little more of a monochromatic look. So they went for a little more subdued. So even though the red is still bold color, they went with that with kind of the versatility. This one is going to be definitely one of the more subdued colors overall, despite the fact that it has its own playfulness. But they decided to stay pretty muted for the color accents as well. Went with a nice traditional deeper blue. But as far as this particular one, was seeing it on the Bracelet and talking about the Bracelet. As we already looked at, it is a double pusher construction and fold over for that. It does have a milled bridge. As we already talked about, it does not have quick release spring bars. Being a bandolier style bracelet, there are some things to stay mindful of. This, I think, is phenomenally comfortable on wrist, but it does not have the best articulation. And that actually is part of the reason why I have filmed this the way that I did, starting out on the watch roll like that, because this actually won't lay flat. So I wanted to make sure they all had kind of an even presentation, and the watch roll was the way to be able to keep them on the same level. So that's something to stay mindful of. These wear almost like a fixed bracelet as far as they do have the wiggle, they have the articulation, they do bend to your wrist. However, once they're set, they do feel a little more like a fixed kind of feel there for that. As mentioned, these are held in with screws as well. As far as the clasp, one of the things that is neat here, so while they went with a traditional, and you can see it's a nice thin clasp for it, not too bad. It does lip up a little more than I would like there. I wish they had somehow tapered that a little better to integrate. But that being said, it's a fairly thin profile, which I think is part of probably what owed to the lip. You can only tuck so far down in there. It does have three traditional micro adjust holes. And, normally I would have a knock and say I wish it had tooless micro. And I've got to say, I still do prefer tooless micro, but I like the thinness of this. And one of the things is they did add a trick to this. So if you open this up, one of the ways that they're able to accommodate if you're on the go and are worried about swelling or what have you, even though they gave you traditional micro adjust holes, they did add this actually link here, and hopefully I can do it well on camera. It's not too bad to do. So you can actually pull this up and that pops free, and then now you can see that folds out. And what that does is that gives you kind of a half link adjustment there. So now you can loosen it up on those hot days as your wrist swells on the fly, despite the fact that you have traditional micro adjust holes, and also without adding the thickness that you have usually with those mechanisms in there. So, personally for me, I'm a little bit torn on the call because I do love toolless micro adjust clasps, but I do think that this is very thoughtful of them to incorporate this piece in. And then all you do is just fold that back over, and you can see that that just kind of drops up. It's always fiddly to try to do on camera, but you can see that drops down in, and then you just push that and it snaps into place. So really not too bad to manipulate. I do find that it can bind up a little bit on the links sometime, but I think part of that's just probably breaking in for it. But as you can see, pretty intuitive and pretty easy to do once you get the hang of it there, and that's even on camera, which is always a heck of a lot harder. So there you have it as far as the basic feel. I'll go ahead and pop up just some quick Lume footage. This is consistent with what you've seen in the full review as well. Lume pattern's going to be the same here. It does have the Lume applied to the hands as well as the numerals. For the kind of application this is, I think it actually performs pretty well for what it is. Not what I would call a Lume monster, but overall I think it's respectable for performance. All right, so now let's go ahead and bring these three back together. We can see them side by side, and then I'll bring in my personal two as well. So here is the Mockingbird. This is kind of that like bluish gray color here with the light blue accent, which you can see the light blue is fairly consistent. Might even be the same between these. I think it's a little different between those, but that gives you an idea there. And then here's just looking at two of the like more traditional kind of colors. And then I'm bringing in, here is the Cabernet. Let's bring this next to the red. You can see very, very different accent here. So despite the fact that both are red based, this is much more of a maroon like you would expect for a red wine base, whereas this is much more of a traditional vibrant red for that. So that gives you an idea as far as what these all look like, as far as the new colors, as well as some of the original colors. So hopefully this gives you a better sense for this watch. Like I said, go back, check out the full review. You can get a lot more detail on what it's like to live with, the actual characteristics, all that stuff. But hopefully this was a fun little look at the different colors. And for those who are on the fence about the bracelet, gives you a better sense as to what that's like. So there you have it. If you did like this, as always, tap that like button, and if you haven't already done so, smash that subscribe button. Finally, drop me a comment, let me know what you think. Do you like any of these 5 new colors? Did you like the original 5 better? Which color's your favorite? All that kind of good stuff. And let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.